So Unknown Memory type beat. This is a super influential album for me. This was really like the point that really inspired me to start making like rap beats. I really like the sound of these type of beats. I was just like playing around, experimenting. I wanted to use like some old drums. It was an old Ginseng drum kit. Most of these presets are Omnisphere, but I've been experimenting a lot just using random VSTs. If you can go and like find a bell preset and you don't have Omnisphere, like I really recommend just chuck like a reverb on it and play around with some of the settings. Also using just like digital distortion, redux, erosion, those types of distortion, you'll get the type of like digital sound that you're after. But really I was just like exploring through Omnisphere. I found a lot of these presets to sound like exactly how I wanted it to sound without having to tweak them too much. So I got this first preset. I just basically used it like as a bell pattern. I started out in C minor. The progression was like 1, 2, 3, and then up to 5. And then I basically just on each of those like chords, I just like stacked it with a fifth or a note thereabouts. Then I just started playing around just some like loose notes like in between each of the chords just to kind of fill out the space. This is the next preset. I went to the patch browser, and then if you go down to, it's called Euro pads, and there's heaps of like really good pads in here. So anyway, I just layered this one in the background just as like a synth, and then I added some distortion. Then we went into a ping pong delay and then into the reverb at the end of it. Then I just layered it with this preset. Then I got this preset, and as you can see, I kind of like filled in the response like where there was a space. And then I just layered it with this other preset, Dark Glass Organ. One thing to note, because there's so many elements going on, I've picked a range that's kind of higher, just so that it separates the elements. It's easy to hear, they're not clashing. It's cool to stack stuff, but just make sure that you're working in like separate octave ranges. Sometimes they sound good together like in the same range, but if it's getting a little bit cluttered, just try and work like in a new frequency range. Generally, I'll just like flick through presets until something just like clicks and it just sounds good without me having to really like mix it. It just kind of fits in there nicely. If you're just having to like really like edit and tweak the preset so much, it just kind of like takes away the momentum of creating stuff. So that's basically the whole melody. I've got this reese bass and I just added erosion to it. Obviously, like you want to go down to glide here, turn it on, and then I usually have my glide time around like 80 milliseconds just so it like glides in between notes and it just gives it that perfect reese bass sound. I moved on to the drums. This is the 808. I just layered it with a kick. And I've just got this clap and hi-hat pattern. And then I also layered it with like this secondary snare. To create kind of like a second drum section, I use like 2 open hats. I created like this kind of like hi-hat roll. I shortened the hats so they're like short and sharp, so it sounds like a hi-hat, but it's obviously like an open hat. So yeah, that's the whole beat. This project file will be up on my Patreon, obviously.